You know what I thought was cool? The lady who had that, I guess the affirmation that she says every morning is live every day as if it were your last.
Cat Williams said that. He's like, yo, if you can at the end of each day, before you go to bed, you're like, all right, this could be the last one. You look around, you're like, how's it all looking?
I did good today.
Is that good?
Yeah.
All right, guys. The quote that I got too, which I'm going to talk about in the Bible study, is the well that I drink from is the well that I leak from. That was dope. And because the way I've heard that is like what's in your heart is what'll come out.
Yeah.
But it's another way of saying that.
In here is what's going to go out here.
So if this is shit in here,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
then this is what we're gonna get.
We all have people that we know that they call you, look at the phone, and you're like, we all have them. They're like, the negative Nellies. There's 99 great things out there, and then there's one bad thing that happens, and they focus on that one bad thing instead of the 99 other things that happen that are great.
That leadership's really about like different levels of consciousness. To me is like a victim mentality. Why is this happening to me, right? It's thinking that like your success and your happiness is dependent on external things. By me is like, if it's to be, it's up to me. And instead of asking the question, why is this happening to me? It's, how is this happening for me? Which one of the guys talked about. Right. What he's talking about is the difference in consciousness. And then the third level of consciousness is through me. So it's this awareness that there's something that's bigger than you. That could be God, that could be love, that could be the quantum field, that could be something that wants to accomplish something through you, right? And in the book, it said that 95% of the population spends 98% of their time into me. Yeah. If you look at the news, it's a perfect example of that. It's like, this bad thing is happening. It's happening to you. Here's the people responsible. You're right. They're wrong. Right? So our goal as leaders, for the most part, is to get as many people in our orbit from to me to by me. By me, which is like, I co-create with my environment. And if it's to be, it's up to me. Because the bridge that gets you from to me to by me is responsibility.
I was just going to say that.
It's
at
radical.
the core, what you're saying is accepting and assuming complete 100% responsibility.
Yeah, it's like extreme ownership, like Dr. King explained. Now, do you know what the bridge is from by me to through me? Surrender and letting go. And here's why it's so hard. Everybody at this table spent a lot of time with by me, which is personal responsibility and extreme ownership, which gives us control. Where you get so good at something, you can kind of do it at will. Well, in order to get to through me, two things need to happen. One is I need to have a belief or a faith in something that's bigger than me. And two, I have to be willing to surrender that control and let it go, which is incredibly fucking difficult. Incredibly difficult once you've kind of gained that. So I think for most people, our job as leaders for people in the organization is to get the majority of as many as we can from to me to by me, which is personal responsibility. That's the bridge. So often on coaching calls, I'll ask people if they present to me something that's not favorable. I'll say like, well, I'm curious, how is this happening for you? What is this preparing you for? What are you learning from this? So I was on a call with a woman who was like, there's a deal and it's like going sideways. We got to get brokers of all this stuff. I'm like, okay, well, let me ask you a question. She's like, yeah. I'm like, how did you contribute to it escalating? And she was like, no, the other agent. I'm like, okay, that's cool. You didn't answer my question. And my intention in saying this is like, I'm not trying to blame you. I think it's a good learning opportunity. Because if you want to have 15, 20 pendings at one time, you need to be emotionally intelligent. You need to be the calming force in a deal. You can't be getting worked up all the time. So I'll ask you again, how did you contribute to it escalating? Did you say something to the other agent? Did you send a snippy email? What did you do? She's like, well, now that you say that, yeah, I think I may have had a conversation with the agent, and I also I want everybody to be happy, so I overpromised it. So you create it by overpromising, and then people get pissed off. I'm like, yeah, well, good. Well, now that you're aware of it, you can do something about it. And I'm curious, where does the need to overpromise come from? What's underneath it? What are you afraid of? You're afraid people are going to be mad at me, and they don't like me.
Yeah,
that's what's underneath it. But do you see it? By asking that question, what I'm really trying to do is to change our consciousness. Right. It's to go from to me, victim, all these other people are assholes. Because I told her on the call, I'm like, look, if everybody's an asshole you interact with, one or two things are true. Either they're all assholes or you're the asshole. What's more probable? Legit.
That they're the assholes.
Is it more probable that like 10 people are assholes or you're the asshole?
It's the common denominator in this whole thing. Yeah. It's not them.
So
it's you.
It's always us.
By walking her through that, I'm doing a couple things. One is conflict resolution. But 2 is I'm also helping to change her level of awareness.
So I forgot where I read this. There's 3 types of people in the world, and most of humans operate on the first, which is they don't know that they don't know. And when you don't know, you're kind of just meandering through life. You're working for Friday at 5 o'clock, spend most of the money that you just earned that week in the bars or wherever doing non-productive things. Sunday comes, you get the Sunday scaries, you go to work and do it all over again at a job you probably don't even like. Then there's people that know that they don't know. They know there's something bigger out there. They know that maybe what they're doing isn't what's necessarily their true calling, but they don't know what it is. So they start to question. And getting from the first to that part is the biggest bridge. And then when you get to that, then the third level is you know that you know, which is what it sounds like it's what we're talking about.
What you made me just remember is Rick taught me something called inner trekking. And he said as a guide or as a coach, that's really what you're doing. It's like you're going on a trek together. And he said this has been happening for humans for as long as they've been around, which is the first thing is like, I don't know what I want. That's the first part of the inner trek. The second part is I know what I want and it's outside of me. The next one is I know what I want and it's outside of me and I got it. The next one is I know what I want, it's outside of me, I got it, and it still feels like something's missing. And then the next one is I know what I want and it's inside of me. And then I start to go inward, right? And that's the progression. That's the progression. So like, I know what I want and it's 100 deals. And then you do 100 deals and you're still anxious, worried, scared. I'm scared I'm going to lose all the money, scared I'm going to lose like the skills, scared it's going to all disappear. And then instead of continuing down the inner trekking path, you're like, you know what?
Maybe I need to do more.
That's the answer. I gotta go to 150 or 200 and then it'll go away. And then you do that and it still doesn't go away. So it's like, I know what I want. It's outside of me. I got it. And there still feels like there's something missing. Then it's like, hey, I actually know what I want and it's not outside of me. So let me start the inner trekking to find it where it actually is, which is really what we're talking about, isn't it? Which is because to accept oneself is to be like centered from within.
It's work. This is like inner work is like work. It takes time because you have to be vulnerable and authentic, really more vulnerable to what you're going to discover. You may not like what you discover about yourself. It's at least that was true for me. For all the years that we've been working, we've been fucking peeling this onion for years and years and years. And now, only in the last, 3-4 months, have we got to the relational part.
Like the perfect example of like the bamboo tree, where it's like you water it for 5 years and literally nothing fucking happens. Yeah. And that's not what happened with him. But like,
Is that how the coaching calls felt?
yeah, no, that's not what happened with him. But meaning, I was talking about the bamboo tree, not him. But like this idea that like you're watering and you're fertilizing and you're watering and you're fertilizing just to get a little sprout. What's nuts is within 90 days that turns into a 90-foot tree.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of all the growth that we seek, there's a saying that says it usually take longer than you think and cost more than what you thought. And that number seems to be like kind of in nature, 5 to 7. And I think that's how long it takes to get to 10,000 iteration. Not 10,000 hours, 10,000 iterations, right? Like attempts where you're just tinkering. And now I believe what's starting to happen for you is you're starting to be like the bamboo. Once the little sprout happens, now it's a rocket ship. Like really quick. People are like, God damn, like, you're an overnight sensation. Grab a calculator for me. I want you to type in like, fucking, whatever it is, 18 years.
Yeah.
Fucking, I don't even know how many posts, thousands of posts, 4,000 listing appointments, like 10,000 hours of prospecting. You know what I mean?
It all goes back to mastery.
Yeah.
We live most of our time on the plateau. Exactly. We live on it.
Particularly when I'm impatient.
And you're growth oriented.
And I'm growth oriented.
Yes.
It's very hard to be on a plateau.
Yes.
And the plateau might be for like a year. Yeah. It might be for 3 months. It might be for 5 years.
Bro.
But usually the reason why I'm on a plateau, often in my experience, is either there's a skill I need to learn, there's a limiting belief, right? So there's a skill I need to learn, or there's like some sort of limiting belief that's causing me to stay on the plateau. So in other words, like, I feel like I was on a plateau, and this isn't making about me, which brain thing. I was on a plateau. I was doing 150 deals, coaching like 30 people one-on-one, 60, 70 in groups. I did that for 2 years, but that was a long plateau. Yeah. And people might be like, yeah, you're crushing it, but it was a plateau. I'm doing the same shit all the time. Right. What was getting in the way of another level was new skills I had to learn, limiting belief, understanding leverage, understanding media. You see? Yeah. That's what causes you to stay on a plateau. Yes. And sometimes your plateau is sweet. Making $300,000 a year, working fucking 20 hours a week is pretty sweet. Yeah. It's a solid, like, it's not a bad plateau, but your comfort keeps you from your calling. And I think business is so unrelenting and uncompromisingly aggressive in evolution that if you want to play the game, you must constantly be evolving and grow. Otherwise, you will not be able to deal with the onslaught. Like uncompromising, unbiased. Winning doesn't care. It's unbiased.
Gene said, people told me I was crazy to sell my region and to sell 6 offices. Right. Because he said, I knew that I was comfortable and on a plateau, and that wasn't going to take me anywhere.
Reminds me of the guy that gave up the 100 listings and the 42 pendings.
Yeah.
I mean, 97 active and 42 pending.
Yeah.
And he gave all that up to move.
Well, I got one deal. I got to wait till it closes. Yeah. So I lost $42,000 on shares and I capped twice. But it's interesting because then it's like, but that's a demonstration of what? Belief, trust in yourself. And you'll notice that a lot of the people who produce very favorable outcomes, they're willing to do that. They are willing to sacrifice. You did do that. You did the same thing. You sold back, lost money. You did that. So I think what's interesting is like this awareness. That's you I'm talking about. Yeah. The numbers might be different, but it's the same thing.
I shared with you that the initial time when I first decided to make the switch, I didn't do any research like you did. It wasn't because of what I knew. I didn't discover the value of this platform until I was here for 6-8 months. It was because he saw something in me that I couldn't see. He saw it, so I trusted, and I made the move based on that. And now I have to trust for myself.
Yeah, the reason why I started laughing, because I feel like, and I'm very appreciative of that, of your trust, is that now I feel like you come to these events, you're like, oh man, this is fantastic. I'm like, yeah, I know. Holy shit, man, I didn't know it was this good. I'm like, yeah, it is.
And knowing for myself is where the sprout's going to grow 90 feet.
It's patience. It's patience.
Knowing for yourself.
Yeah.
Massive levels of action.
When you get like, how many times did I call you? Be like, you're all like, shit ain't happening, man. Oh. How many phone calls did we have?
Where he was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I haven't really tried anybody. Blah, blah, blah. But then I had a...
Well, even before, even years ago.
Yeah.
Working, man. Like, how many times did we everything was patience.
It's patience. Patience. Because you're growth oriented. And what I was referring to is even with the attraction thing. And then I had a strong conversation with him. I'm like, well, bro, what are you doing? And he was like, well, not much. I'm like, all right, so then what are we talking about? I was like, dude, you start doing events. And he was like, okay. I'm like, you start doing a fucking podcast already. Because I've been telling you to do it for a while. He's like, okay. Yeah. And now he's doing both. And both are the main mechanisms for attraction for you. And then once you started to get serious, you went from 0 to what?
11 now.
In how long?
Realistically, 5 months.
Right. So like once he got serious, it was like, okay.
All the family stuff got out of the way and like worked itself out. I could like lock in and focus.
What's required.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a thing there that said like something like champions don't do what they love. They learn to love what's required. It's just what's required. If I'm a professional marketer, network marketer, and I get paid to market the product to the end consumer, which is agents, I should be doing events and media aggressively because that's my job.
But I feel like your foot in the door is skills. The foot in the door to get people into the room that you're hosting. What are you offering them?
How can you add value?
Exactly.
You're doing it, and now it's like a refinement where you have that skill.
Yes.
You don't have to think about that. No. Now, how do you present that skill?
Yeah.
That's another layer. And as you acquire these skills, you make yourself more valuable to your orbit. And then you can equip them with those skills, right?
Powerful year, man. 2024. Within what, we had the gala. Now we have this is a powerful year for us. The Elite Builders. Are you kidding? And then we're going to DR. I was like, just like a hour.
And then we have
It is so
the
good.
XPCon in Miami.
There's a put right there.
October. I don't know the exact dates. It's in October. And we'll do something. We'll rent a boat. Or we'll rent like an Airbnb. It'll be dope.
I'm gonna share this
We'll do
one
something
with Chris. Go ahead. Oh, grab it.
You're gonna have more? Let's go.
And then
wanna
this
try
one.
it.
Our job is to market that product to the consumer who are agents. The 7-level comp plan is how we get compensated because we don't get a salary. We get compensated